Alright, imagine this. You're just living your life, minding your own business when suddenly, you're faced with a situation that makes your heart race. A job interview, a first date, public speaking, whatever it is, you start to feel that familiar twinge of nervousness creeping in. But here's the twist. The moment you get nervous, bam, you turn into someone completely different. Like, not just a new version of you, but a whole new person with a different personality, different quirks, a different way of thinking. It's like your body becomes a host for a totally new character. You're still you, but you're not. It's like the universe handed you a role in a play. And every time you feel the pressure, you've got to step into a new costume and start improvising. Now, at first, this might seem like a blessing in disguise, right? Imagine how easy life would be if, every time you got nervous, you just morphed into a more confident, charismatic version of yourself. Maybe you turn into this charming, witty person who knows exactly what to say, who's got the perfect comebacks, and who nails every interaction like a smooth talker. For those stressful situations like job interviews or making a big presentation, this could be a game changer. You'd be the star of the show, effortlessly dazzling the room with your new persona, while the old you cowers in the background, just trying to hold it together. You'd have all the social skills, the confidence, and the charm you'd normally wish you had. And no one would ever suspect you're secretly playing the role of new you. But, of course, that's where things start to get interesting. Because every time you get nervous, you're not just upgrading yourself, you're changing into someone completely different. What if, during that nerve-wracking job interview, you transform into a straight-up nerd who suddenly becomes obsessed with explaining the complexities of quantum physics, even though you have zero idea what you're talking about? Or maybe you turn into a super serious, stoic person who can't crack a smile no matter how hard you try. Or worse yet, what if you turn into a version of yourself who's just plain awkward? You might try to shake someone's hand, but instead of a firm handshake, you accidentally give them a high five, or worse, miss it entirely. The more you try to push through your nerves, the more you risk becoming a wildly unpredictable character who doesn't quite fit the situation. And let's not forget the social consequences. Imagine being in a group setting and suddenly turning into a completely different person mid-conversation. 1 second, you're the fun-loving, goofy version of yourself who's cracking jokes and being the life of the party. The next, you turn into a highly philosophical, deep thinker who's talking about the meaning of life and existentialism, and everyone's just staring at you, thinking, what happened to the funny one? It would be like having a whole series of personalities fighting for dominance, and you have no idea who's going to pop out next. You could go from being the social butterfly to the wallflower, from the heart of the party to the awkward loner, all in the blink of an eye. You might never know who you'll be in any given moment, and that unpredictability could either be a huge advantage or the most embarrassing thing imaginable. But hold on, there's more. What about your relationships? Imagine how your friends, family, and significant others would react when every time you're stressed or nervous, you suddenly switch personalities. Your best friend might love you when you're that carefree, adventurous soul, but when you turn into the introverted bookworm who doesn't want to talk to anyone, they're going to be so confused. Or maybe your partner is used to the charming, sweet version of you, but when you turn into a distant, cold person who doesn't know how to express emotion, it could really shake things up. Not to mention, how do you explain this transformation to someone who's never seen it happen before? Oh, hey, by the way, I'm usually me, but if I get nervous, I turn into a completely different person. Don't worry, this is totally normal. Yeah, that'll go over well. And then there's the deeper issue. If you can't control when or how you switch personalities, it could start affecting your sense of self. You might begin to question who you really are. Are you the person who's in control? Or are you just a puppet shifting identities every time you feel a little anxiety? If you're constantly switching between personas, you might lose sight of your true self. Are you just playing a part in every situation? Or worse yet, are these new versions of you more authentic than the original? Maybe one of these characters you turn into feels more you than your usual self ever did, and you start wondering if your real identity is even the one you've been showing to the world. The more you rely on these alternate versions of yourself, the harder it could be to reconcile who you are at the core. Now let's talk about the long-term effects. You could potentially start becoming dependent on the idea of transforming. Instead of learning how to manage your nervousness, you might lean into the crutch of becoming someone else every time things get tough. If you're never dealing with your nerves head-on, never learning to face the fear as yourself, then are you really growing? And if you're always hiding behind a different identity, Will you ever truly find peace with your own? But hey, at least it would make life interesting. Every social interaction could feel like an improv performance. You'd never be bored. You'd always be encountering new versions of yourself, and you could probably pull off some pretty wild stunts. You might even become a legend for your unpredictable personality shifts, the one person people can never quite predict. And maybe, just maybe, you'd learn to embrace each new version of yourself, understanding that they're all part of who you are. It could teach you how to embrace change and uncertainty in ways that most people can't even imagine. So, if you could switch personalities every time you got nervous, would you see it as a superpower or a curse? Would you embrace it, or would you start to long for the consistency of being just one person, your person all the time? And most importantly, would you learn to control your nerves? Or would you just become a walking, talking, ever-changing character who's never quite sure who's going to show up next? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious to hear what you do.